Next, we will be looking at question number 3. This is a question where it's saying, right, what's the value of x in this equation? You've got all these kind of crazy looking fractions I need to deal with, and maybe you can find a quick way to deal with it, particularly if you're studying for SATs. This is some question that you'd really need to be able to do. But for the regions and for our tests, this is really going to start looking like, especially as a multiple choice question, like a calculator question. So let's practice using that calculator to get this done. And we'll take a little bit more time on this. We're going to look at questions 9 and 10 as well, because these are all calculator questions. Whenever you're looking for the value of x, you've got an equation in your question, and you've got values as your possible answers here. You can go ahead and just plug in, all right, what if it was 4 minus 2 over 3 plus a 6 plus 5 6? What if it was 6 minus 2 over 3 plus a 6 equals 5 6? You could plug all these in, or you can use the calculator's nSolve function. I'll turn the light off here so it kind of gets a better view on the calculator. So for the calculator, what we're going to do is I'll come over here to New Document. I'll do that by pressing the 1 key, just because it says 1 up there. I do not want to save. I just want to have a new blank document. I'll press 1 again to add a calculator. And when I'm trying to solve for a value of x, all I got to do is use my nSolve function on the Ti-nspire here. So I'm going to hit the menu key. I'm going to solve an algebra question. So I'm going to hit 3 to go to algebra. And I want to do a numerical solve for this point in the class. And you should see this little nSolve pop up over here. And all I'm going to do is take my original equation and plug that into the nSolve. So let's make sure I'm doing this right. Control, divide, makes it a fraction. X minus 2 over 3. I'll hit the right arrow, plus control, divide, 1 over 6. Make sure right now my cursor is under there. I want to make sure I come out from that cursor, then equals, one more time, control, divide, 5 over 6. It will not solve it for you yet. What you got to do is tell the calculator, here's the equation that I want you to solve. And then you got to hit comma, which is all the way down at the very bottom of the calculator. You got to hit comma, and then the variable you're trying to solve for. I want to find x in this case, so comma x. And if I hit enter right now, it should give me my answer, which is 4. That looks like it's answer choice number 1 over here. That's it for this one. Like I said, there are 3 multiple choice questions in this test that you can just use nSolve for. So let's take care of all of them at once. I'm moving all the way over to question number 9. I can tell that this is an nSolve question. Sorry about the mouse. I can tell that this is an nSolve question because I've got an equation on the top and then 4 possible answers on the bottom. That could be my values of x, the solution to the equation. Oops. Well, all right, I started looking at number 9, then number 10. Same thing, and it's an equation on the top, 4 possible solutions on the bottom. I could just plug this in and check out, if that side with a 2.75 is equal to that side. But also, once I've got an equation on top, answers on the bottom, I can just nSolve. It'll pop the answer out for me. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me get it so I can see the whole calculator here. That looks good. I'm going to hit the menu button, and then the algebra button, and then I'm going to hit numerical solve 1, and I'll plug this whole equation in over here. I'm not missing anything, right? No. Negative 12 minus 4x equals, and then the whole right side, 2 minus 4, open parentheses is down here, open parentheses, 6x minus 5. I got to come out from the end of the parentheses there, and then I'm just going to hit comma x to say I want to solve for x. And if I hit enter over here, it says the answer should be 1.7. It's that right there, 1.7. Let's look at one more final question. Again, we can tell it's an nSolve question for our calculator because I've got an equation. It's asking for the solution of the equation below. Again, on an old calculator, I could just plug in these different values to x and see what works, but it's a little quicker doing it this way. So one last time, menu, algebra, 3 for algebra, 1 for numerical solve. I've got the nSolve. I'll plug the equation in. 4, open parentheses, x minus 7, close those parentheses. Stay inside the nSolve though. Hit equals 0.3, open, x plus 2, close, plus 2.11. This algebra would be pretty messy if I tried to do inverse operations, so it's nice that we can just get it done with the calculator here. Comma x, I get 8.3. Looks like it's 8.3 right over there. These are free questions that just on the multiple choice, if they're looking for a value of a variable, just use the nSolve. You are allowed to use this on the regions. You're allowed to use this on my tests, so get used to using it, right? I actually want to go to one more nSolve type question, which is going to be one of the short response questions. So let's take a look over there. That question is number 13. All right, so number 13, it's, it's got a fraction in it. We're trying to solve for the exact value of x. So what you can do is you can nSolve this to get what your answer should be, and then you can do the math, or you can do the algebra first and then nSolve it to check your answer. Let's do the algebra first to kind of get this figured out. So the first thing that I'm going to try to do is, hey, I see a fraction. Let's get rid of that fraction. I'm going to multiply everybody by the denominator to get rid of that fraction. So I'll multiply by 3, and I'll multiply by 3 over here. Does that help us see it a little better? It's good enough light in here right now. Okay, because I have this minus sign in the parentheses here, it's going to tell me to distribute the 3 to the 6 and the 3 to this whole other term that's on the other side of that minus sign, right? I don't distribute into inner parentheses. I just distribute to every term in the parentheses. 3 times 6 will get me 18. The 3 on top here will cancel with the 3 on the bottom there. So I'm left with 18 minus 2, x plus 5 on the left side, and then 3 times 4x is going to be 12x. We'll keep going. I'm going to distribute the 2 into those parentheses. Let's distribute it as a negative 2. So I'll get 18 negative 2 times x minus 2x. Negative 2 times positive 5 minus 10 equals 12x. Next, let's combine our like terms. I've got an 18 on the left side and a negative 10 on the left side. Those will combine to be 18 minus 10, 8. Keep the minus 2x over here, equals 12x. Almost done. Now we can move all our x's to one side. Plus 2x, plus 2x. Boom. 8 equals 14x. And then I just got to divide both sides by 14 and I'm done. Divide both sides by 14. And I'm left with 8 over 14 equals x. This 8 over 14 I can simplify, divide both sides by 2. I'll end up with 4 over 7. So hopefully when we nSolve, we get a fraction of 4 over 7 or a decimal that's equivalent to this. So let's go ahead and try the nSolve now, right? We did all our algebra. It's quite a few steps, but not that crazy. And then we can nSolve it just to make sure that we got the right answer. I mean, I guess you could plug this back into x, but again, like nSolve I think is just so much quicker to do that with. So I'll go to menu, 3 for algebra, 1 for numerical solve, and I'll plug this whole guy in at 6 minus, make a fraction, 2 over 3, and then in another set of parentheses, x plus 5, close parentheses, equals 4x, and I gotta remember that I gotta hit comma and then x to make sure I'm telling the calculator what variable I want to solve for. It just straight up won't work without that. If I get this, okay, I've got this weird fraction over here, or sorry, this weird decimal. Let's hope that that equals 4/7. Couple ways you can do this. I can just check, all right, let me do 4 point divided by 7. This will tell the calculator to give my answer as a decimal. And yeah, 4 over 7 is that decimal. So we got it right. nSolve told us that we got this 100% correct. You can move on to the next question with a lot of confidence knowing you got it.